All right, let's talk about something every investor thinks about. When a company you own is swimming in cash, what's the best way for them to pay you? Is it a dividend or a stock buyback? Today, we're going to break it all down. So let's just jump right in. Picture this. You've invested in a company, and they've absolutely crushed it. They're sitting on a huge pile of cash, say $1 billion, that they don't need for, building new factories or anything. What's the next move? I mean, it's a great problem to have, right? But for the company's management, it's a really big deal. They have to decide how to get that value back into the hands of the people who actually own the company. People like you. Okay, so they've basically got two main options on the table. The first one is the classic dividend, just, sending cash directly to you. The other option, which has gotten super popular, is a stock buyback. That's when the company uses that cash to buy up its own shares. Let's dig into each of these. All right, let's start with the OG, the dividend. For decades, this was pretty much the only game in town for rewarding shareholders. So a dividend is, well, it's pretty simple on the surface. The company carves off a piece of its profits and hands it out. You own 100 shares, you get paid 100 times the dividend amount. Easy enough? But here's the thing. It's not always actual cash hitting your account. Yeah, there's actually a whole menu of options. You've got your regular cash dividends, the ones that just show up like clockwork. Then you've got these special dividends, which are like a bonus payment when the company has an amazing year. But where it gets a little tricky and honestly a bit confusing for a lot of people is with stock dividends and stock splits. And this is a super common trap people fall into. You see the news. Company X announces a 2-for-1 stock split, and you think, yes, I'm rich. But nope, not really. Your actual ownership, your piece of the pie, hasn't changed at all. Let's use an analogy. Imagine the whole company is a pizza. Before this stock split, your shares represent one big slice. Let's say it's 10% of the entire pie. Okay, so after the 2-for-1 split, what happens? Well, they cut your big slice in half. Now you have 2 slices instead of 1. But the pizza itself was also cut into twice as many total slices. So you have more shares, sure, but each one is worth less. Your total ownership? It's still exactly 10%. Nothing's really changed in terms of your wealth. Now, when it comes to good old-fashioned cash dividends, there's a whole timeline you've got to know. The company announces it, that's the declaration date. But the most important one for you, the investor, is the ex-dividend date. You have to own the stock before that day to get the cash. Then there's some admin stuff, and boom, payment date. The money's in your account. It's a very formal, very predictable process. Okay, so that's dividends. Now let's switch gears and talk about the other option, the share buyback. This is the one you hear about all the time now, and for a lot of companies, it's become their go-to move. So instead of cutting a check for every shareholder, the company takes that big pile of cash and becomes a buyer of its own stock on the open market. As it buys up shares, the total number of shares out there shrinks. And what does that mean? It means every share that's left now represents a slightly bigger slice of the company. And they don't just do this in one way. The most common method is just buying shares on the market, day by day, nice and slow. It gives them flexibility. Or they can get more aggressive and make what's called a tender offer, basically saying, hey, we'll buy a huge block of shares from you at a price above the current market price. They can even do a fancy Dutch auction to figure out the lowest price shareholders are willing to sell for. Okay, so here's the big question. Which one is actually better for you? A dividend or a buyback? Let's put them head to head. Imagine you own one share of a company, and it's worth $20. The company has $50 million it wants to give back. So let's set the stage. You start with one share, valued at $20. Simple. Scenario 1, they pay a $5 dividend. Awesome, right? You get $5 in cash. But that money had to come from the company's bank account, so the company's value drops by that exact amount. Your share, which was worth $20, is now worth $15. So you have a $15 share plus $5 in cash. Total wealth, still $20. All right, now scenario 2, the buyback. The company uses its cash to buy shares from other people. You hang on to your share. So the company's value goes down because it spent cash, but the total number of shares also goes down. These two things kind of cancel each other out, and the result is your single share is still worth $20. Your total wealth, you guessed it, still $20. So here's the big reveal. In a perfect tax-free world, there's absolutely no difference. Your wealth is exactly the same either way.
But, we don't live in a perfect world. The big game changer is taxes. That dividend cash you get, it's usually taxed as income right away. With a buyback, the value of your share goes up, but you don't pay any tax until you actually decide to sell. That extra flexibility is a huge reason why buybacks are so popular.
Okay, so if the math basically works out the same, why is this such a huge debate? Why do people argue about this stuff all the time? Why is it such a massive decision for a company? Well, it's because it's not just about the numbers on a spreadsheet. It's all about the signal, the message that choice sends to Wall Street and to every single investor. Think of it this way. Paying a dividend is like a promise. Management is basically saying, our business is so stable and profitable that we can promise to send you this check every quarter like clockwork. It signals confidence and stability. A buyback, on the other hand, signals something different. It signals opportunity. Management is saying, hey, we think our own stock is a bargain right now. It's the best place to put our money. It's also way more flexible. They can start and stop buybacks whenever they want, which you really can't do with a dividend. Yeah, this quote here really nails it. I mean, think about a big tech company like Oracle. For years and years, they put every penny back into growing the business. Then, one day, they announce they're going to start paying a dividend. The market goes, whoa. That's a huge signal. It's them saying, okay, our crazy growth phase might be slowing, but now we're a mature, cash-generating machine. And that's really the key takeaway for you as an investor. The next time you see a company announce a big dividend or a massive buyback, don't just stop at the headline number. You have to ask yourself, what are they really trying to tell me? Is this a sign of ultimate confidence in the future? Or is it a sign that they've run out of good ideas and have nowhere else to invest the money? Answering that question, that's how you really understand what's going on with a company.